Al-Afrikiy ibi jíde báwo wọ́n ti dá wọ́n lè já ní bọ́lẹ̀ kólókè báwo ni wà ẹ́ ṣe rí wọ́n lè já ní bọ́lẹ̀ àkìlì báwo wà ní láti ẹ̀ ṣe rí sallallahu alaihi wasallam ìwàjá fà ìwà kí ànábì ọwọ́ ní fáàkà fáàkà nàbí ó ní ànábì tó ń wí sallallahu alaihi wasallam ọgbà ànábì ọlọ́run bá 124,000 ni wọ́n nínú ọ̀rọ̀wájú àwọn òjíṣẹ́ tí wọ́n jẹ́ 313 nínú àwọn òjíṣẹ́ ìrọ̀wájú àwọn márùn-ún tí wọ́n ń pè ní wòlúrí àti nínú àwọn ṣúlù tí ànábì ló jẹ́ kànú wa ànábì Mùsá jẹ́ kànú wa Ibrahim jẹ́ kànú wa ànábì Ìsá jẹ́ kànú wa ànábì Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa sallam owó tí lóbi ọ̀rọ̀ ọba 124,000 àwọn onímọ̀ ló tún bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ èyí ké tó bá wùtọ́ jẹ́ ń bẹ́ẹ̀ afọ àwọn ní gbogbo àmẹ́jọ ọlọ́run tó wù í dájú kò nílẹ̀. wà á kọ́ nàbí kálí wà ní kólókè. ó ní fáńkà nàbí yìí ànábì tí wà tiwa.
Wàtàlọ́ mọ̀ yìí yá bàbá Muhammadi.
Àṣà ìdájọ́ òfin ànábì ẹ̀ka àtọ̀ pẹ̀lú gbọ́dọ̀ àfáà yìí.
Ìnáni Agáríkà wá níbi ìbára àṣàbìrì àbíbínà Muhammadi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Àdìjá ní kòlẹ̀ àkàlìkì.
Wọ́n ní Hasan Qasas. Kò sẹ́ni ọmọ tàbí àtọ́lọ́mọ.
Ìnáni kùsù àlẹ́ká àṣàlẹ̀ lè kọ́ sọ́ọ̀sì.
Àdúgbò àlẹ́ àjọ lẹ́bi ní máa pa ìta òótọ́ fún Hasan Qasas. Òun náà pa ẹgbẹ́ àtàwọn èèyàn ń pèsè ẹ̀ wọ́n gbé gbọdọ̀ àti wá àwọn kan ní àtàrà ọ̀bọ ni àwọn kan ní àtàrà ajá ni wọ́n ti ń bá àwọn ilé ìfìsì. Àmọ́ Hasan Qasas ọ̀gá àtàkọ́dé àtà ètò ọ̀pá bá ní gbégbá mo fẹ́ kẹ́ máa nẹ́bi àjẹ́.
Wàlàkọ́ni kàlákìnà lè ní sáà mi sùlẹ̀ láti mèntì.
Onídàbídà yín ní sọ̀rọ̀ alátìmẹ̀tì ni ọlọ́ọ̀nìbí àròkọ́ mo ti dá yín.
Dùnmọ̀jáde náà olùtú bàtà bí ọ̀rọ̀ ìrọ̀lì.
Ọlọ́ọ̀nì àfọ̀ yẹn ni mo sọ di nòtìfátà.
Kíkọ̀rọ̀ ìrọ̀mọ̀tì àpọ̀.
Ṣé kọ́ra ìmọ̀tí ni olùwà lọ tọ́jú sínú kọ́ra ìmọ̀tí òdìjà ìwádìí ni? Ìgbà tí màá dàgbà wá fún màá pété níta jẹ́wọ́. Ọlọ́run sọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀hún bùkà lọ́dọ̀ tó ti pẹ́ kọ́ra ìmọ̀tí ọlọ́run lọ tọ́jú ẹ̀ pamọ́ sínú yàrá kan nínú olúbọ̀ ọlọ́run lọ tọ́jú ẹ̀ síbẹ̀.
Wàkàlákìnà nínú tí bàtà àgọ̀tà.
Ọlọ́run máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní ṣiṣẹ́ mi. Alákìnní àná bàtà àgọ̀tà. Mo wá mú omi yẹn, mo wá sọ di àlákà, mo wá sọ ọ́ dẹ̀jẹ̀ omi yẹn mo yí padà sẹ́jẹ̀.
Wàkàlákìnà nínú àgọ̀tà mọ̀dẹ̀gọ̀tà.
Ọlọ́run ní ẹ̀jẹ̀ ni mo sọ ní báàsì.
Wàkàlákìnà nínú mọ̀dẹ̀gọ̀tà ìsọ̀mọ́.
Ọlọ́run ní báàsì àdìgbà náà bá ní mo wá sọ di ìsọ́nà mo sọ di gbogbo.
Wàkàsá ọ̀nà ìsọ̀mọ́ lánàá.
Ọlọ́run nígbà tó di ewu mo wá di àwọn bò ó. Nígbà tí ìyẹn dé kó mú ìmọ̀lẹ̀ ara rẹ̀, ìmọ̀lẹ̀ ọlọ́run wá ń sọ fún yí pé.
Kúni àbí Muhammad.
Kúni àbí Muhammad. Yóò rẹ̀ mi. Máa jẹ́ ààyè mi. Kí ọlọ́run òdòdó àmúlẹ̀ àti gbádámà. Ànábì sọ̀tà nítorí ìyàtọ̀ bẹ láàrin Habibu àti Halilu bọ́ àdékálọ́ pé kẹ̀lí. Àlùbáàní ọlọ́run yà kọ́ Ànábì Musa púpọ̀ púpọ̀ àtàwọn wọn bẹ̀ sọ yìí pé. Àmọ́ tó ti rẹ̀ kò dé kò tá a ti di lọ́dọ̀ lọ. Nítorí kẹ́lí ọ̀rọ̀ ọlọ́run là lẹ́bi Musa. Habib olùfẹ́ ọlọ́run là lẹ́bi ààbò ọlọ́run là lẹ́bi tọ́jú tọ́lọ̀ ń bọ̀ bá ní kò ọlọ́run fọ́lọ́run. Ọlọ́run gbọ́ máa ní wọn ní pé kí o rí. Ó ti lọ síbẹ̀ kí o rí. Àyè kọ́ máa jẹ́ náà lẹ́bi lórí ìsìlámù àmì ọ̀rọ̀. Wọ́n ní ìyàtọ̀ tí wọ́n ní sábà di ọlọ́run pé ó pe òun ní kàdí ọwọ́ á pe ànábì ní àbí ìyàtọ̀ wo ni wọ́n bí ṣe ń gbà wẹ̀ lọ́sàn-án bí wọ́n máa ṣe wàhálà nítorí ìlú lóru.
wàlẹ̀ àbíkú yàrá mú àlàbírọ́ sí i.
olùfẹ́ mi ta pè láyé omi òun lànà Muhammad yàrá mọ́ra òun ó sùn jẹ́ díẹ̀díẹ̀ lórí bẹ́ẹ̀dì rẹ̀ ní yọ̀ọ̀mọ̀ yìí lọ yọ̀ọ̀mọ̀ yìí bọ̀. Àti Habibu nìyà olùfẹ́ ìní ọlọ́run ẹni tí mò ń fẹ́ òun kí fẹ́ mi ó lè máa fẹ́ mi àmọ́ mi ń fẹ́ èmi ni mò ń fẹ́ àmì èmi pọ̀ ju tiẹ̀ lọ gbogbo káàkà rẹ̀ láàrin gbogbo yìí lọ́kùn wá nù.
wọ́n máa àjàlákà àjọbíkà yà Musa.
ayé ìgbàlódé máa bá jẹ ọlọ́run máa yàrá ká omi kàyà Musa kí ló dé kí ni kọ́ lórí wọn Musa tó ń sáré bọ̀ wá bá mi.
bọ́lá òun láàyè àlàáfíà iwájú nítorí kára bìlí tẹ̀lé gbọ́.
àdìgírì tó yẹ kí a máa ń tẹ̀lé ọ̀kẹ́ tó bá fọ olùgbà tó wọlé kò lè lọ́rùn síbi náà ni. ti Musa ni ọba àlùbáàní wa gbé tà nẹ́bì ni àwa kí àlùbáàní wa ń ba tà nẹ́bì fún.
wọ́n sì bí alámọ̀rẹ̀ kúrú náà.
àwọn ọmọ wa ti tà nẹ́bì ọlọ́run wa tù ọlọ́run wa sí dákòóso sùúrù máa lọ́jú torí mi.
alámọ̀rẹ̀ kúrú náà.
sọ sí ọ̀la tó ní ní àwọn sọ̀rọ̀ ṣe mọ̀ tẹ́ ni wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ sí láti lọ́dún bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n.
وسبح بحمد ربك قبل طلوع الشمس وقبل غروبها.
ọmọ tiẹ̀ tó ń ṣe pẹ̀lú ẹ̀mí ọlọ́run májọ jára àwọn májọ jára sátúrọ̀ bá ti ṣàfọ̀mọ́ máa ń gbogbo nǹkan ti wà lókun nìyẹn.
ومن آناء الليل فسبح وأطراف النهار لعلك ترضى.
ṣé ní ìyá ẹ̀ka tó ọ̀rọ̀ alákàtà tó bá rí ilé ìfowópamọ́ ìpínlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́ ọ̀yọ́
لعلك ترضى.
sẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ìyá máma ọlọ́dẹ akọ tó bá gbogbo èyí tí wọ́n ti fi ṣe tú ọ nìyẹn ọ̀yọ́ sí i. wọ́n ti sọ fún Musa ti sọ fún yín pé mo tètè kájú wá bọ́ ọkọ wàá jẹ ètò ìlú. ìyàtọ̀ àdìwà kẹ́kẹ́ nìyẹn. lọ́jọ́ wọn nù àkọọ́lẹ̀ kẹ́kẹ́ sọ yìí pé wọ́n bá wọn sọ fún àná Musa àbẹ́ ìsàlátù wa sàlámù bá lọ ọlọ́ni wọn Musa. Musa ìsátì pẹ̀lú ẹ̀mí ọlọ́run ṣe tó wọ́n jẹ́ àti ní ìṣe tí mo bá ṣe dẹ́nu kìí yẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀rù. Nígbà àkọ́kọ́ ẹ̀lú Hàmẹ́dà kọ ọjọ́ nípò nígbà àkọ́kọ́ ẹ̀lú àjọyọ̀ Mahama ọba mi máa ń jẹ máa ń jẹ àmì mo kúra pẹ̀lú oṣù tó gbẹ́jọ́ gbé dà ìjà mọ̀ níwà lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ mi.
wàlá tànà àrùn tàbí jáde tí látànà àrùn tàbí jáde tí.
ọ̀sùn láti ká tó ọ̀pọ̀ láti jẹ náà.
Ya Musa.
Bàbá mi ẹ̀ Musa.
Màlám yóò mímú bí Ahmada ní jẹ̀bi ìmùsàlì náà.
Tí ọba gba Hàmẹ́dà bọ̀ tó ọba ẹ̀jẹ̀ ìjẹ́ ìlú tí ọba gba ìmẹ́bí wọ gbogbo tẹ̀lé ọmọ bàbá tí mo ránṣẹ́ pátápátá ẹ̀mí ni mo ṣẹ̀lí ìlànà gbogbo oníṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ọlọ́run.
ọ̀rọ̀ dání tún àlẹ́ yìí àzànà tì í.
Ọlọ́run tó lè kó sí dáadáa ní ìgbà pa. ìmọ̀lẹ̀ ìgbàgbọ́ mi wà ìgbọ́kùn lára rẹ̀ máa mú kó nínú ara rẹ̀.
Ya Musa.
Ojú ọ̀rọ̀ ọmọ bí rẹ̀ Musa ló lè dín àdájọ́ lọ́wọ́ kò sí àdájọ́ lọ́wọ́ lè tó Musa. Musa ni wọ́n ní màláíkà lọ bá kọ́ ọmọ bó ṣe lè tó lò ọba dé onílódé ó ní wọ́n ní bẹ̀rẹ̀ wọ́n bá gbà ní orí ẹ̀sìn lọ. Àdìsí sọ yìí ètò ìpọ̀rọ̀ àtàlẹ́ àwọn afá ní kíra o. Àdìsí sọ yìí àdàbí ní ojú Israẹli ọba lọ orí náà ọba kọjá sọ́dọ̀ lọ Musa bá mi kí ló dé ó ní mo dé lẹ́nu bá mo dé lẹ́nu kí ló wí fún Musa tó ní àmọ̀jẹ kí ló ọdún ọba òun lójú ó gba ní ọdún ọba òun lójú kí ló wá ní ọdún rádà rẹ òun bá òun sọ ọdún wà láti bí Musa ṣe rí mi wà lọ́ba èdè tọ́lọ̀ mi ṣe ibi kọ́ lọ wá mà ní fòfò ọba tó kọ́ á mú ọwọ́ rẹ̀ báyìí kọ́ dà bíbi ẹ̀yìn màdùn kó fi bu rẹ̀ èdè èyí tí ọwọ́ rẹ̀ bá ká tó ìyọdún tí ó lò sí báyìí lè wọ́n ti tẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ àmọ́ àwọn adájọ́ náà wò lè rọrùn wò lè rọrùn tọ́lá adájọ́ náà lè sáfù àwọn akápadà dá sí pé kí ló ṣèṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ fún wọ́n wá yọ Musa lọ́nà méjì. Àkọ́kọ́ ń gbọ́dọ̀ kí Musa ráìtì ní ibi àsọ̀tọ̀ tí máa fi bá wọn lò bọ́ bá ní lọ́nà láì ẹni mọ̀lẹ́kà tó bá ń dáhùn ní lọ́dọ̀ òkú ọ̀gbọ́dọ̀ tí a kò wọ́n sàlámà ó lásàrà yìí lọ sàlámà fún mi. Fúrúfú ti wà bẹ́ẹ̀ pé wọ́n á sàlámà lóòótọ́ máa ń kọ̀ á ní bọ́ bá lọ bá yá kàkàrà sọ́ọ̀tù ìgbà wọn lọ bá ní Ibrahim alayhi salatu wa salam wọn lọ fún mi.
Wàlú sàlámù.
Wàlú sàlámù.
Wàlú sàlámù káwọn kárúnà.
Wọ́n sàlámù sí. Àwọn àwọn ya ẹ̀yin fóònù mọ́ kàrí ẹ̀yin tí wọ́n dákun ní wọ́n bá mi ẹ̀ máa wọlé náà wọ́n rà.
Wàlẹ̀ àtàkà àdìsù débi ìdíráyé wáyé sí dákàlù àlẹ́ ìpapọ̀lù sàlámù kọ́lá sàlámù káwọn kárúnà.
Tọ́ba ní ètò ọlọ́lọ́kí èmọ̀ràn yìí sẹ́ ẹ̀ẹ́sà ká wọ́n wá ní orúkọ ọmọ àbọ̀tá fún ọmọ ìmọ̀ bí ìyá lọ́tọ̀ ẹ̀ kú dáná lè fi bíra sí ọ̀rọ̀ ó dá ọlọ́run tí àwọn ẹ̀ńdẹ̀ ẹ̀ńdẹ̀ ni wọ́n dá ọ̀rọ̀ pé wọ́n.
Ya Musa àbíbí àmàlà mọ́tò ìbùnì làbùsíkà wà ìbùnì òmàdì mọ́tò ìbùnì làbùsíkà. Àbíbùnì àmàlà mọ́tò ìbùnì làbùsíkà. وأحب لأمتي ما تحب لنفسك
lórí rẹ̀. Inú tí ọlọ́run fi máa ń dọ́tà nẹ́bí nìyẹn. Òun lọ́wọ́ fà yí pé sẹ́ káwá lọ agbègbè jíjà. Fi àtijọ́ tí ọjà ó múlò máa rẹ̀ ní mádàmú ni wọ́n máa jẹ́ kùnù.
Ìjọba kò lọ jẹ́
ká máa bẹ́ẹ̀ máa ti sọ yìí ìgbà tí ẹ lọ́dún yẹn yìí pé kò ní sùn.
yóò tẹ́ ní màmá ká ní malẹ́ àgbàlá.
ọ̀nà bẹ̀rẹ̀ lèbùdá ní máa.
màmá ní malẹ́ àgbàlá.
ìwà bí àwọn ìwà alákùnrin tó sì ṣe pé ìwà yìí dàpọ̀ yẹ̀sùn tí ọba ti ṣíwá àkọsẹ́sì. àwọn àkọ́yà àwọn èèyàn nílò ọmọ lọ́tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ó lè di sí fọ́ọ̀rọ̀ pẹ̀lú àtàrẹ àti zakata ìbò kí bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ́tọ̀ bá ti níwà òní kẹ̀kà. torí ọlọ́run ò ní kankan ìrùsè bí àbájẹ́ tù wá kò ní kankan bá rẹ̀ ṣe bí àbájẹ́ tù wá kò ní kankan bí ájì ṣe bí àbá àkáàmù islam wọn ní márùn-ún. àkọ́kọ́ ni sàrà àdẹ́tù àlẹ́ àlìmán tá a bá wo ìmánì kí lọ́nà torí ẹ̀gbẹ́ ìmánì wá ọlọ́run gbé ìmánì wá torí kankan ìwà lọ́nà torí ẹ̀gbẹ́ ìmánì wá kí lọ́jọ́ kọ́ jẹ́ wá òun lẹ́sà.
albirra.
kò sí sáńpẹ̀ ní nípa ọmọ àmọ́ mi kò sí sáńpẹ̀ ní bíi kí ló ń pè ní àdúgbò. kò sí jíjẹ́ bí wúlípù ní ìwà ní jẹ́bẹ̀ ọlọ́run wá ní lẹ́sà ní bírọ̀ ọlọ́run ní kò sí nínú wà ìwà pọ́yẹ o.
àtúwálú ojú àkùnrin ìbá àlùmáṣíríkì wà lùmọ́tòríkì.
wọ́n dájú kọ́ bí tóòrùn ti ń yọ àbí bí tóòrùn ti ń wọ̀ ọlọ́run ní wà pọ́nìyàn o.
wàlàkínà ìbírọ̀.
ọwọ́ fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ ti ń jẹ́ wà ó ní wà láti nà lè wà ó ní ti ń jẹ́ dáadáa tá à ń pè ní wà.
mọ́ni àmàna bíllá.
ìmánì òun làkọ́kọ́ eléwu àkọ́kọ́ ní ìsìlámù ní pẹ̀sẹ̀ adátàláhì àìlá. tọ̀sùnà ìmáàmù ní náà nígbà pàpàdé ọlọ́run.
wàlẹ́ òmìnir ákìrì.
nígbà pàpàdé ọjọ́ kan yìí.
wal màláíkà.
ọjọ́ kan yìí pé gbogbo ọba ń ṣe àpọ́jọ́ kan pọ̀ sí ibi ní òbí. máa ń wà bẹ́ẹ̀ pé mo ní bí ọ̀hún. ìjọ kan ń bọ̀ wá sí ibi ní òbí èmi àti ẹ̀ táàní ẹ̀ képe. kéde pa àwọn onífọ́jọ́ ni. ọlọ́ni bọ́lọ́gbọ́ ọjọ́ kan ìgbọ́.
wal màláíkà.
àwọn màláíkà gbọ́.
wal kitabi.
bàtí ọlọ́wọ́ bá gbọ́.
wan nabi.
bàbá yẹn ti gbọ́.
wà á kàní mẹ́lá làwọn bí ìsàlẹ̀ kúrúbà.
bàbá yẹn ló fáwọn àti wọn súnmọ́.
wàlẹ́ àtà.
àwọn tí wọ́n súnmọ́ nínú ẹbí àtàwọn tó jìnnà sí ọ̀nà ẹbí ọlọ́run bá fún wọn.
wàlẹ́ àtà.
àwọn kò kàn fún wọn.
wal masakin.
àwọn tó ní tí òní tó bá fún wọn.
wàbí náà sẹ́bí.
àwọn máa kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ fún wọn.
wà á sàárì.
àwọn tí léèrè kò sí lọ́jọ́ àwọn ó ti àwọn tí léèrè gbọ́dọ̀ kò sẹ́ni tó kó bí ìyàrá yìí ara ní pinni ẹni tó wà kò ní sàkó bí ọ níyàwó rẹ òun kó bí ọ tó bá ní lóbi ọmọ náà lọ ní tó bá ní ẹ̀rọ rẹpẹtẹ tábàrọ̀ bá tún bẹ ẹ̀jẹ̀ níye báyìí òun kọ́ máa béèrè kó ọ̀sẹ̀ máa kó èrè pé kí yóò fi ṣe. ọlọ́ni asáyìí àwọn tára ní ìtọ́jọ́ lọ́wọ́ kí àwọn tára ní ìbọn náà yìí pé tó o bá ti fún wa ọjà wo ronú ọlọ́run gbẹ́jọ́ ẹ̀kọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ náà bá ní sí gbèsè wa bọ̀. tó bá ti ti wá ronú ọlọ́run tí ń kàrà sọ́dọ̀ọ̀hún ara rẹ̀ ọlọ́run ó ti gbà á. ọlọ́run má jọ ọjà báyìí ló fi sọ yí pé kóòtù màrún. ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ jẹ́ àbísàrà tó ṣe tọrọ burúkú tẹ̀lé ọ bẹ́ẹ̀ sábà síwájú ayé wàhálà yẹ̀ ní ipa nítorí ni wọ́n ti dá yín ni abẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ní dá ní kílẹ̀ ní kúkẹ́ bá dá ní tèmi wọ́n ní kọ́ má dá fún mi yá wọ́n sàrà ní sàrà. torí ẹni ìbànújẹ́ ẹ̀dá láyé kó ti dá sílé ẹ̀ fún ọ tán ọfà àbájọ bá ti yẹ ọwọ́ àgbọ̀dọ̀ wọn náà kò sí tí mo lè ṣe sí ìbànújẹ́ ti lé nítorí wàá ti mú ọtọ ọgbọ ọba àgbóòlù tó bá wá bá wọn náà lọ́nà tó lè fẹ́ ọlọ́run ọmọ níyẹ àṣírí yẹ ọgbọdọ̀ tó kí lè á ṣe o gbé bọ́ọ̀lù méjì lójú ẹ bí ìgbà tó bá kàn wá mọ́tò ọlọ́run mú kàn ọlọ́mọdé àwọn mùsùlùmí ìdí kankan o kọ́ máa sọ tó náà pé òdìwé bọ́ọ̀lù wa yà ń bẹ̀rẹ̀ òkú ọlọ́run ni wọ́n wá sí tòun ní ìsàn fọ bọ́ba ti délé yóò bá ti mú kó lọ́dọ̀ rẹ̀ ọlọ́ni kó lù máa rú. Irun tó bẹ ti di sí fẹ mu wà ní kọlọ ń kàkà lẹ tó tó kà mu ìdí dààmú nínú nàdá Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa sallam ní wọn ti ní wájú ọmọ ẹgbẹ ọmọ ẹbí ṣe ìdáwó fún ẹ àwọn ṣe ìdáwó fún àṣà àtàjọ kan wọn fẹ yẹ anabi níta ni mùfúlísù tá ló lò sí ìjọ mi. Ẹni okuru ọmọ òwúrọ̀ báyìí, ẹni tó kú òwúrọ̀ báyìí, ẹni dẹ́jẹ̀lẹ̀ òwúrọ̀ báyìí, ẹni ẹ̀jẹ̀ wọlé mọ́lẹ̀ òwúrọ̀ báyìí. Sọ́ọ̀sì máa ń pé gbogbo tẹ́lẹ̀ bá ti náà ní kódà ní abá bàbá àwọn afá kí ni àwọn ọmọdé àná òní sọjọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ máa tàbí àwọn èdè àní tàbí àwọn ìfọ̀. Táyé ní kàlà ní. Wọ́n ní àdá ibi ọ̀pọ̀ gbàgbé ọ̀rọ̀ náà fún ọ̀dẹ̀ gbàgbé lọ́mù. Kò sí gbàgbé bẹ́ẹ̀ mú pé gbàgbé yóò béèrè. Adájọ́ wà láti ṣùgbọ́n. Ọ̀nìṣẹ́ ta máa lọ́nà tí o tọ́ wọ́n gbé ayé rẹ̀ wọ́n gbé fẹ́ni tó kú lọ́nà tí o tọ́ wọ́n gbé sàkà rẹ̀ wọ́n gbé fẹ́ni tó kú rámọ́ lọ́nà tí o tọ́.
wàyí fani àti àsàlátù kọ̀ọ̀kan ayélujára máa lè.
kó bá ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ tí gbogbo dáadáa rẹ̀ wá tán.
torí àti.
ó tó di pé ìdájọ́ ọlọ́run tí ó dàbí gbogbo dáadáa rẹ̀ wá tán kò ní ìkàkàmọ́ torí àti. Ìdí máa lọ ná alábìíní mùsùlùmí ló lò sí ìwà lọ́sọ̀ ló lò sí kò ní wà ọwọ́ lóhùn sí lọ́hùn ibẹ̀ kẹ̀kọ́ ti sàárè yí máa ní tó wí musẹ́ tí ọ̀bá tó dáwà ní ọmọ lò sí ti yẹ ìmánì habir kò sí sọ́n pẹ̀pẹ̀ oríkù ni ọlọ́run nípa ìwà wa kọ́ òun kò ní ọ̀gbà náà ìwà ní pẹ́pọ̀ ọ̀gbìn ọlọ́mọba gbọ́. Walakinna al-birra man amana الصادق لا اله الا الله هذا الرسول قال وانا محمد رسول الله تبارك الذي وجد واقعا
أقام الصلاة
lọ́dẹ̀ sọ pé tó bá wá tù náà délẹ̀ ló láwà kí ní jẹ́rù lọ́dẹ̀ bọ́lá wọn sọ pé ó ti máa wí ẹ̀rí kàmínà kí dájú wá ti lè sọ̀dá ta iná sọ̀dá ta.
Wala
gbà fún òun àwọn bọ́ọ̀kù rẹ̀ ilé tí ó dé tẹ̀.
abata kuduna min dunillahi.
nígbà tí nǹkan mi tó yàtọ̀ sọ́dọ̀ wọn.
màlá ẹ̀fọ́ òkú wà láyé dùrù.
èyí ọ̀nà àǹfààní kan tó ṣe ní tí ò ní ìlà àkàtọ́ fẹ́ tó bá yín.
ó fìlẹ̀ kún.
ó ní sí ọ̀nà. ẹbí ọlọ́run pé ìrì àtúntò ọlọ́run bá mi kẹ́ ìyá mi kẹ́ bàbá mi ká máa rọ́bà yá mi sọ yíra nínú àti kẹ́ mi nígbà mọ̀ wá kékeré àdá àjẹsẹ̀ ìwọ̀n fáàkà náà lè ní èyí. Senate President. Bukola Saraki. Bila Abale. Jagobo. Mawale. Madojuti. Nabi Muhammad. Ajwa Fatari. Allah kita sadar mama wa baba. General Murtada. Kuti Silui. Oh, they got that 40 years. Toko Lai. Salat al-Fatiha. Allah tana majana wa rasulana wa majid shaqa fi din al-islam. Amin. Kifayat al-Amin. الموت ويرحم يصوم اللهم اجعلنا من حب المؤمنين لا نيات الواجبين سنة من الصدق والملائكة والسجارة في القتل آمين. بسم الله. رغم معادية افتح بيننا وبينكم بالأرض وجعلنا شر صدق أقدامنا لا جبال شريكنا وأبلغنا من لدنك رحمة آمنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا بالصالحين اللهم اجعل سعادة لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله سعادة لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله مجد توم تابع سلولا Ati apa lalu ati abule oba di bayi Subhan rabbika Sulaiman mubarak ya ilahi wa وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت إنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك
غفور الله رحيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. We are grateful to Allah who has blessed us in so many ways that we cannot even recount. We give thanks to Him. We ask for His help and we pray for His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil deeds of ours and evil consequences of our deeds. And whoever Allah has guided, there's none that can mislead, and whoever has gone astray, there's none that can guide him aright. We bear witness that there's no deity worthy of worship except Allah. He is one, He is only, He is the creator, He is the sustainer, the nourisher of all that exists. He is the one that has put the sky in place without any pillar, min ghayri amadin tarawnaha, without any pillar that we can see. And within the earth itself, He has put vital things for human survival. Allah has put the oxygen for us to breathe in, free of charge. He has put it in place, put it in order, put it in proportion. The oxygen is not too hot, is not too cold. He has made it to be something that is easily accessible for human beings and other creatures on earth. He is the one who has put forth the power of the wind. We don't know where it is coming from. If you see water, you can say, okay, this water is falling from the sky in form of rain. If you see a river, you say, okay, this is the source, this is the spring, this is where it is coming from. Where is the wind coming from? Is it coming from the sky? Is it coming from the earth? Is it coming from where? We can't even see the source of the wind itself. Yet it blows. And Allah has put its speed and the measure in order. Nobody can tell us the source of wind. Nobody. Scientists can explain it, but only Allah knows the sources of this wind that blows on us. Allahu Akbar. They told us of one man who came from a village to the city to buy fan, standing fan. So he said they should test it for him. So they plugged it and the fan was working, blowing so much breeze. He said, stop it. He said, why? He said, don't finish the air. This is just testing. Don't finish the air. It's okay like that. So that I can have more air in the fan when I get back home. He thought the fan is the source of air. Now, where is the source of air for real? This stuff you see here, if it keeps rolling from now till tomorrow, you can still feel the breeze. But where did Allah put the air itself? Where did He put the breeze itself? You can say, okay, somebody mixed this and this together to create something. What did Allah mix together to create air? Allahu Akbar. The same thing, we have the air, we have the wind, we have the breath that we breathe in, and the breath of Allah that has made us to be beings, human beings. وَنَفَخَ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. Allah says, and I put my breath in him. And there's another verse Allah is talking about Adam, that whenever I finished creating him, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. Whenever I put my breath in him, you should all bow down in respect to him. That breath that Allah put, that is the vital thing that has made us to be alive as we have it now. So we have the breath of life, and we have the breath of breathing in and out that sustains that life. So there's the initial breath that quickened us to life, and then there's a continuous breath that sustains and maintains the living beings that we are. That breath, that is why nobody can kill himself by holding his breath. If a person wants to commit suicide, tell him to hold his breath and not to breathe. It's impossible for a human being to do that, to kill himself by holding his breath. So that breath, Allahu Akbar, by the time a child is born, this gasp for breath will quicken the child to life. Because while the baby was in the womb, it was not breathing air to survive. It was oxygen and other things pass through the umbilical cord to the baby's body, goes to the brain and sustain the rest of the body. At the point of birth, coming to life, the baby had to grasp, has to yelp, has to cry, and has to go through some pain, a very sudden transition, a decision, a decisive moment between life and death. And the child will have to grasp the air and breathe it in and cry out loud to announce that it is now alive. And then we say that child is now alive. A transition from not breathing to breathing. Never used the lungs for breathing before. It begins to breathe. And that is the life, and that's the power of Almighty Allah. It is that seizure or cessation in the breath that announces the death and the passing away of a human being. When it is time to die, sakhratul maut, the pang of death when it comes. The death itself will only just reach out to cut off the breath and the source of breath for the person that is alive or the person that's about to go. And you see that pain and the pang of separation from body and the soul through the cessation of the breath. So it's usually a very difficult time for somebody's breath to be cut off. And that's what Asarai will hold on to. It will cut off the breath and the person is not a human being anymore. The person becomes a corpse. So that moment is a very important one, both in coming to life and in getting out of existence as a human being. So we praise Allah for this wonderful creation. We praise Him for this wisdom. We praise Him for this power that nobody can do like He does. Nobody can give breath. Nobody can give life the way Allah does. He is the one who is the Khaliq, Al-Bari, Al-Musawwir. He is the creator, He is the evolver, and He is the one that fashions everything the way they are. If you don't know the importance of this breath we are talking about, just have stuffy nose or have asthma or anything that can cut off the breath. May Allah continue to sustain us with good breath and good life. So as we praise Allah, we also ask for Allah's forgiveness. We thank Him for making us Muslims, and we thank Him for the opportunities He has given to us to be in this world. Even when, if we had the choice, we would not have wanted to. And He didn't even consult us before bringing us to this world, this existence. He imposed it on us because it's Al-Jabbar, the one that compels things and compels people and compels circumstances and situations. The ones that forces human beings to be what they never wanted to be, to do what they never would have wanted to do. He is the one that compels us and drags us along. And that is why we are compelled to move towards our death. And that's why we cannot go back to yesterday. If we could have gone back to, some of us would have got angry and go back to 16 years old. But we can't go back to perform the subi of today because Al-Jabbar is the one that is compelling us along. You cannot stop yourself from getting old. You continue to grow old hatta zurtumul maqabir, until when we visit the grave. And guess what? We're also going to be compelled to enter into the grave. A dead person will not die and say, I refuse to be carried to the grave. If they cannot carry the person, they will use crane or caterpillar. And the person refuses to move, they will cover him with sand wherever he is. Allah is Al-Jabbar. May Allah let goodness be compelled to come our ways. And may Allah give us, should Allah compel us to enter paradise also? I don't know if you are going to say amen to that. Okay, may Allah make it easy for us to enter paradise. Some people, no matter what they do, Allah will surely put them in paradise because He will make them to suffer very well. So that by assurance they must go to paradise. They will not get everything they want in life. So Allah will turn it to kafara for them. Things may not go so well for them, so that Allah will force them. You, this guy, you must go to paradise. May Allah make it easy for us. So like somebody said, if all of you, brothers and sisters, when you get to paradise and you don't see me there, please remember to ask after me and say, where is Abdul Fattah? The topic of today is a very interesting one and very important at that. We say, let me not forget, wassalatu wassalam ala ashrafil mursalin. May the peace and blessing of Allah be upon the best of all prophets, the best of all messengers, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's our Oga Kwata, the Ogagba, the prophet Allah sent to the whole of mankind, and who has shown us the guidance towards the path of Almighty Allah, this path of salvation that we call Islam. May the peace and blessing of Allah be upon him and all his household, his Sahaba, and all believing men and women from now till the day of judgment. We want to talk about divorce today. Last time we spoke about when is the right time to marry the wrong person. Yeah, that was quite interesting. And you know that whoever marries the wrong person, usually the matters end up in divorce. That's why we say, okay, let's divorce follow that topic. When is the right time to marry the wrong person? When a person marries the wrong person, it may or it may not lead to divorce. You just stay with each other forever, like that. Or both of you should just be patient and wait for who is going to die first, so that after one person's death, the other person can have their life if it still remains. Some people are in a marriage now, and then the life of theirs and of their marriage is just 2 bars. It remains only 2 bars. They don't have full network of life in their marriage. There are some people like that. They operate on other people's networks. And there are some marriages that are just photocopies of another person's original marriage. They don't have their own marriage of their own the way they want it to be. So we want to talk about divorce, and we call it divorce supermarket. We all received the text message. So many of us received it, right? And what did you think when you saw divorce supermarket? As if we want to sell something or something is going to happen. What is going to happen is, inshallah, we will look at divorce from different perspectives, from different angles, and from different ways. We want to look at it from what constitutes it, what causes it, and how to prevent it. But we like to be a little pragmatic about it, a little practical about it, such that we express the opinions of those who, one way or the other, have experienced divorce, so that those who have not or who are yet to will have an idea of what it involves or what it is all about. Also, like I always say, I believe that every marriage has expiry date. Either you divorce or one of you will die. Those days they used to say, till when death do us part. Sometimes not only death, it can be divorce, it can be anything. So no marriage lasts forever. After a while, many years, 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, 6 months, 20 years, 50 years, one of you will depart from the other. So there's no meeting. There's no liqa بغير الفروق أو كما قال الشاعر. There's no meeting without a separation. I want everybody to hold that in their hand and never to forget. There's no meeting without a separation. Something somewhere along the line will bring about the separation. So we want to look at this separation in the light of the divorce. Divorce is talaq in the Quran, like we all know. It's talaq in the Quran. You see, in fact, it's even the name of a surah in the Quran. Surah to Talaq. That's Quran chapter 65. And you see the surah starts with something like, Ya ayyuhan nabi, O you prophet, idha talaqtumun nisa. Whenever you and your companions and your followers should divorce a woman, فَطَلِّقُوهُنَّ لِعِدَّتِهِنَّ. Divorce them at their prescribed period. وَأَحْصُوا الْعِدَّةِ. And count the accuracy and count accurately their prescribed period. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ رَبَّكُمْ. And fear Allah your Lord. And fear Allah your Lord. There are so many reasons why Allah emphasized the fear of His while talking about talaq. Because a lot of things are involved in it that has to do, a lot of things that will have to do with the fear of Almighty Allah. وَلَا تُخْرِجُوهُنَّ مِن بُيُوتِهِنَّ. And do not send them away from their homes. وَلَا يَخْرُجْنَ إِلَّا أَنْ يَأْتِينَ بِفَاحِشَةٍ بَيِّنَةٍ, and they too should not move out of their houses except if they are guilty of open sin, open lewdness. وَتِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ, this is Allah's boundary, these are Allah's limits. وَمَنْ يَتَعَدَّ حُدُودَ اللَّهِ, and whoever should transcend Allah's limits, فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ, indeed he has wronged his soul. لَا تَدْرِي لَعَلَّ اللَّهَ يُحْدِثُ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ أَمْرًا, and you do not know whether Allah will bring about any new situation after this one. There are some points we note here. We hear the aspect of fear of Allah, and then we also hear the aspect of hududullah, Allah's boundary. وَتِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ, these are Allah's boundaries, Allah's limits. وَمَنْ يَتَعَدَّ حُدُودَ اللَّهِ فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ, anybody who should transcend Allah's boundary, that person has wronged his soul. In other words, matters of talaq are so serious that Allah looks at it as anybody who should do it in a wrong way has transcended Allah's boundaries. And when a person does that, the person is going to be punished as a result of that. So divorce, that's talaq, is the last option in any relationship. Whatever thing happens, there are other ways of looking at it. There are things to do to reunite people when there is problem. But the Quran says, وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, live with women with kindness and equity. فَإِنْ كَرِهْتُمُوهُنَّ, if you hate something about them, فَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا, maybe you hate something, وَيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا, whereas Allah will put a lot of goodness in that thing that you hate. And so many other verses of the Quran say something about this talaq. You see where a woman is afraid of cruelty or desertion from her husband, that they should arrange for amicable settlement amongst them. Then an yusliha bainahuma sulhan, that we should do reconciliation between them. Wasulhu khair, and reconciliation is better. Another verse talks about if you fear, when khiftun shikaka bainihima, if you fear that there's going to be shikak, that is a breach of trust between the husband and wife, fab'athu bihakama min ahli wa hakama min ahliha, bring forth a just person or arbiter from his family and from her family. If they come together, in yurida islahan, if they wish for peace, yuwafiqillahu bainahuma, Allah would let reconciliation occur between the two of them. Inna Allah kana aliman khabira, because Allah is all-knowing, is the one who gives the news of everything that we do, is the one who informs us of whatever thing we are doing. So generally now, matters of divorce, the personal, the family, and the community consequences of divorce is so high, it costs a lot when there's a breakdown of marriage. So much so that presently now, before the first 5 years of marriage, so many people have already divorced. Then 10 years, many people may not survive it. 15 years, some people see divorce as that. And we have heard of a case of divorce after 25 years of marriage. So it's like it's a ceiling fan, it blows on everyone. People that when they were to get married, they so much loved each other. Suddenly, you'll be surprised. After a short while, these same people are talking about divorcing one another. And you begin to wonder what exactly is going on, what is happening now, why is it like that? There are so many general observations of scholars and social scientists. They say that stable and satisfying marriages contribute to people's welfare generally. It contributes to improved physical and psychological health. It contributes to sometimes longevity of life. Sometimes you live long because you are married. Sometimes it contributes to material wealth because of marriage. Better outcomes of children and their well-being because of marriage. As protective as it is, it doesn't really go for very long. After a while, the same people that have enjoyed so much peace and tranquility, they are the same people who give so much hassle to each other. So in other words now, with so much high expectations of marriage, why is it that these marriages break down? What are the reasons that these marriages break down? And how can these divorces be prevented if it has not happened yet? What is it that we can do to prevent further occurrence? And what is it that we can do? Under what circumstance should we even advise people to divorce, even if they don't want to? Do we have any rights to tell people to divorce if the marriage is not working? Then what is the general outlook of people concerning matters of marriage and divorce? Now, you observe that there are so many GSM providers. If one network is not okay, you get another one, right? There are so many brands of phones. If you use one and it cracks or it loses your data and you get angry, you can get another phone. From this one to this one, Samsung to Nokia, Nokia to Samsung. You can move around and check another one. The same thing with work sometimes. If you are in a particular job and you don't like it, if you get another opportunity, you move out, go and get another job. The same thing with cars that people use. Some people use a car for 1 year or 2 years, they sell it and get another one. The same way people look at consumerism in terms of what they do with life and with marriage and with buying things, that's the same way they approach marital issues. It's like if this wife is not good enough for you, push her out and get another one. And if you don't get another one, keep her to one side and bring another one in. Just like when you have 2 SIMs in a phone. One is the most predominant SIM, SIM 1, and another one is SIM 2. SIM 1 doesn't always have credit on it because we prefer SIM 2. And you answer your call or you make phone call based on which of the SIMs you actually have credit. So you are not under any obligation to ensure that the SIMs have equal credits on them. You just feel, okay, let me give you my number. Then you ask me, is it MTN or which other one? Then I can quickly make up my mind and say, okay, yes, give me your MTN because I prefer using MTN on my phone, or I prefer using Glo or Etisalat or whichever one. This, unfortunately, consciously or unconsciously, this is the way people look at marriages and divorces nowadays. Now, what are we going to do? And how are we going to look at it? Today, we look at this general thing, but there is this social context of marriage and divorce. We cannot remove it from society where we are talking about marriage and divorce. This time around, we are talking about Nigeria, we are talking about our environment here, and so on and so forth. Now, I want to ask you this question, your own opinion. What do you think? Do you think, I'm asking you now, do you think divorce is more prevalent in rural areas than in the cities? Or it is more prevalent in the cities than in the rural areas? What do you think? In the cities, there's more divorce in the city than in the villages. How many people support that? Do you agree? More divorce in the cities than in the villages. How many people agree to that? Raise up your hand if you agree. 1, 2, 3.
Depends on who has been in the villages, or who has lived here, or who has someone there.
Okay, yes, it depends on who is actually living in the village. How many people live in the village here? Gariki village, raise up your hand. Suleja. Yeah. Okay, I'm talking about village, your village, your hometown. Your home village, hometown, or far. Do people divorce more there than in Abuja city, for example? What do you support? Which one do you support? More. Suleiman.
Where we say that about 70% of marriage started from on a bigger basis. When such materials is no more there, let's get into that.
No, that is relative.
It's for love.
Love? Okay. Okay, that's what you think. I like Suleiman. Okay, in the village it's so difficult. But in the city, nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
It's like SIM card. Subhanallah. Somebody was objecting to what he said. The only one I object to is when he said love. You remember I said the other time that love is a luxury product too. Most people who marry in the village, they are not thinking of love. They are just thinking of survival. I'm exaggerating anyway. But nevertheless, we will not throw your point away. But what he's saying is that more people will rally around the couples to ensure that they stay together in the village. But in the city here, you're on your own. Right? In fact, you are even bearing your father's name. So nobody knows whether you have divorced or you are not divorced. Most of the time in the cities, right? Let me ask you another question now. Educated people and people you consider illiterate, who divorces more? People who are educated. Masters in this, masters in that one, OND in this one, HND in that one. Real educated people, they can speak English with their mouths closed. Educated people and illiterate people, who divorces more? In your own opinion? Educated. Are you sure? Hey, educated people are in trouble. But don't you think educated people are supposed to even know better about how to make things work, strategic plannings, project management? They are supposed to know that marriage is like a project too. I want to hear from you. Which one will you support? That educated people divorce more than illiterate people? Illiterate people divorce more. Any small thing like this, they just pack out. You think so? Who supports her? Many people are supporting her. So let me ask you another one, then we'll now merge it all together. Rich or poor, who divorces more? Rich people or poor people? Are you sure? You think rich people divorce more than poor people, or poor people divorce more than rich people? Do you ever hear that poor people are divorcing? We will not hear because they are not celebrities. Nobody knows what is happening in their life. Okay, but rich people, they also divorce too.
Then you get to hear
because they are everybody hears about them. People know. So it's more prevalent among the poor. So divorce one person, go and marry another person, and so on and so forth.
To an extent, for instance, they call it Auren Leda. It's so easy.
Auren Leda, as in nylon bag.
Yes, and just go and bring a few clothes, and then you go and marry another person.
Sharp like that.
Problem.
But what of the rich people too now? How do they make their own? Auren Akwati. Okay. So we can't be sure. It depends on which is more prominent, the one we hear about. Okay, let me ask you this one. Early marriage or late marriage, which one leads more into divorce? Early or late? Early marriage. Why? Because they didn't know anything when they married, so later they will just pack up. What of late marriages who are very sharp, very smart, very intelligent? They know what they want. If they don't get it, they will just look. Excuse me, darling, you'll be hearing from my lawyer. I'm done with this marriage. Allah Akbar. So we are not 100% sure which one is which. But whether you like it or not, early or late, they see divorce, right? Rich or poor, they see divorce, isn't it? So if you are there thinking that it's because some people are poor, that's why their wives are leaving them. Some people are rich and their wives still leave them, right? And they run away with this money. Educated or illiterate, people still divorce, right? Then it means, okay, let me ask you this other one too. Are you ready? Religious people and people who are not religious, who divorce more? Of course, you know what I mean by religious people. People who are religious and people who are not religious, who divorce more? Okay, let me give you an example of what I mean by religious. Husband and wife, they pray, they fast, they go on Hajj, they go on Umrah, they attend societies, go to Nasfat, go to Ansaruddin, go to Micah, go to Nawaruddin, go to Ansarul Islam, come to Bainakum, do a salatu together, all those kind of things, right? Or people who is only on Jumat, that you see him go to pray, even on Eid, he hardly bothers himself. He doesn't know how to go to societies and organizations. They are more likely to be divorced. Why?
Yeah, because when you attend this kind of functions, you tend to get more ahead.
Okay, you are within a community. Okay, there will be people who will say, don't do it. Okay, it helps along the line. Okay, people who are learned and those who are ignorant. I'm talking about people who can, ladies who can read Fatiha, who can read Kursiyu, who can read Yasin from their head. Men who will do tahajjud like 24 hours within the night. If I've exaggerated well enough that way. And those who don't even pray regularly, who don't know more than Kulu Allah and Fatiha. Do you think divorce is more prevalent amongst people who are supposed to be generally more learned than those who are not? It's relative, right? One is not sure. Okay, let me ask you this. This one is a very sensitive one, and I hope you are going to forgive me for that. A part of the country that seems to have predominant Muslims, another part of the country that seems to have predominant non-Muslims. In which of these two areas do you have divorce more in prevalence? Where we have more Muslims. Why? Is it that it is easier for them? Oh, okay, wait. Because it's easy. Cultural factors are involved. So it seems easier for them to say, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. Muslims, right?
Marriage that lasts for 20, 30 years.
Subhanallah.
There was a lot. Any little bushy, go away.
Allah Akbar. That's a very good point you have made there. That means some of these, okay, developed countries and third world, if we put it that way, would divorce more. It seems the developed cultures divorce more. And I'm sure there are many reasons for all of that. Let me tell you some of these reasons. Contemporary marriage and family relationships are formed and maintained in an environment of greater choice nowadays in how people can live their lives that has been possible for past generations. So in other words, the social environment that we have today that recognizes a variety of personal relationships and sexual behaviors that has removed stigma from infidelity, that has removed blame from matters of divorce, sometimes that even glorifies divorce. In such a situation or such an environment, there is that tendency that you have more rate of divorce. In a society where the women are more independent, where the women have better education, where they have better employment opportunities, and they have financial support from here and there. Such societies, you see divorce more prevalent than where it is the other way around. Just like what you just said now. A society where a woman can easily walk up to a bank on her own, she can get a loan. They will not say, go and bring your father, go and bring your husband. On her own. Once she's a mature woman, she can walk to any bank and say, I want loan. Okay, you can deduct from my salary. They know she's employed. She can get a loan, go rent a house and start living on her own and say, to hell with you, Mr. Husband. She can do that, right? So it means then, from the question we asked earlier on, when we say rich or poor, educated and uneducated, it seems to me that it is easier nowadays for the educated to also get divorced. The uneducated may have it a little difficult because of the community setup that they live. But generally, another thing that has made divorce to be so interesting nowadays is that those days, expectations were very rigid and straightforward. But nowadays, expectations are so fluid to the extent that nowadays there is a high value on meeting the ambiguous desires for mutuality. Everybody has a desire that we have to do something mutually. You agree, I agree. Before now, maybe in some other rural settings, it may be that, okay, once the man says he wants to marry this lady, whether she likes it or not, she must accept. Nowadays, it's not like that. So we have mutuality, we have intimacy, we have matters of happiness. People want to get married because they want to be happy. I don't think it was always like that those days. Even if it was like that, now the term happiness is so relative that you can't even define it for people. And people cannot define it on their own. Somebody will say, in this my marriage, I'm so tired. You say, why? You say, because I'm not happy. You say, but why are you not happy? I'm just not happy. What is it that will make you happy? Because she has a job, she has an official car, she has a house of her own, and then her husband also has a house. They have drivers, cooks, and servants, and they have like 3 or 4 children. She can travel to China on her own to go and shop, and she can go to Dubai on her own. And that woman will say, I'm not happy. Then you ask her, what else do you want? That's why we say it is so ambiguous. Those days, nobody talk about happiness. You say you want to marry because everybody marries, because you want to have children, for example. That happiness thing, they don't look for it in the marriage. That is why people will stick together for a very long time. Whether happy or not, they know that, well, happiness and sadness are relative. They are things. Anybody can be happy. Even a mad person can be happy. But we go into marriage now because we are looking for happiness. We go into marriage now because we are looking for self-fulfillment. You have your own passion of what you want to achieve on your own as an individual. So if people get married and these things do not really work like that, people move out of the marriages and say, no, I've not been able to have self-fulfillment. This matter of husband and wife coming together to build a home is not there. It is everybody do your own. And so the very well-defined expectations of traditional breadwinner husband and homemaker wife is no longer there. Traditional, we know the man is the breadwinner. Of course, although there are some husbands who are breadwinners without bread, and there are some wives who are homemakers without home. Whatever it is, we know that those days the man is the breadwinner, the woman is the homemaker, and everybody accept their role that way, and they go ahead in their lives like that. But because things have changed now, people now look into other things that they are looking for to be satisfied. Here's another suggestion. Let me tell you another suggestion. Formerly, marriages were held together by external pressures, economic necessity, and so on and so forth. Families are involved, social disapproval. You don't want people to say, you were married yesterday, why are you not married today? That was what it was those days. And that was what considered the strength of families those days. Now, it is not like that anymore. It is any level of unhappiness will trigger divorce nowadays. Any level of stress will trigger divorce because there's nowhere to fall back to get all of those things put together. And so, several researchers have observed that the quality of marriage has declined because of 2 things. 1, increased expectations of marriage, and 2, favorable attitudes towards divorce. Increased expectations of marriage, things we're expecting in marriages are more now than before. And secondly, favorable attitudes towards divorce. Like that my sister said, somebody will just say, well, where are you now? I've left, I'm somewhere else now. What are you doing in Port Harcourt? I'm there with my husband. But your husband is in Lagos. Say no. She'll say no, I'm no longer with him. And nothing spoiled. Nothing. That's why a man will push his wife away without bothering what happens, because nobody is going to call him an irresponsible man for doing that. A man will marry, he will not maintain his family, he will not maintain his wife, he will kick her out of his house, or desert her, or neglect her. And people will still smile and shake hands with him tomorrow. He say, what of the other one? Say, that one is a gun, is a gun issue. And nobody will look down on him and say, they will still give him job. People will still give him honor. People will still give him award, even though he has chased away his wives. And people will still respect him. If it were before they hear that you push your wife out, it means you are grossly irresponsible. Nobody will give you a job. Nobody will give you a contract. Nobody will trust you with anything. To say that you couldn't maintain your wife and so you push her out. And so men can be so proud now to say, okay, I've divorced, okay, this one, Amina, okay, I know that one's then you'll be counting the number of women he has divorced and nothing spoiled. Nobody will ask him any question. Allah Akbar. Do you know that those days, one of the reasons a person can become king is if he has many wives? Nobody will make you a king or a monarch if you have one wife. In fact, I remember from some parts that I came from, you have to have 4. Because of Islam, they will count you 1, 2, 3, 4. And all the 4 must be intact. If for any reason, any of them should pack out or you chase her out or anything, nobody will come to you to settle quarrel anymore. The villa, you that cannot, you that cannot maintain wife, you keep pushing them out. Ooh. Those days also, nobody will marry your daughter if they hear that you have divorced some of the wives, because they don't know what you have taught your daughter or what you have taught your son. If all you do is divorce your women, so the society has approved that a man can behave as he likes. He will come home, look up and look down, and say, I don't want you in this house again. By the time I come back, don't let me meet you here. He wouldn't bother about the consequences of his action. So this is a very big problem, a very big thing that has made it to be like that. And let me ask you some other questions like that. Of course, we said because of employment and because of everything, especially because of the kind of society we have, that is why people find it very easy, especially men. You see, I'm hammering on men now. It is men. Men, a man will just marry anyhow and he will just divorce anyhow and he doesn't care what happens. I know of somebody who has married 7 wives in his life. Out of the 7, only 2 remains with him now. And people still say yes sir to him. People still respect him a lot. And if this woman should explain the circumstances of their leaving him, nobody should talk to him again. In fact, the Sharia court should jail him for the way he has behaved towards those women. However, some other things happen though. In your own opinion, do you think these divorces happen as a result of destiny? How many people believe that people divorce because of destiny? Raise up your hand. That it is destined to be. 1 is part of it. 2 is part of it. Elijah is part of it. Who else? Not many people are supporting this market today concerning the destiny aspect of it. We are on destiny department now in our supermarket. So look around. Is it destiny that makes some marriages to dissolve? How many people do not agree? If you don't agree, raise up your hand. You don't agree it's destiny. You don't agree it's destiny. Who else doesn't agree? So some people do not raise hand whether they agree or they disagree. Subhanallah. Okay, I'm going to catch you all one by one. Those of you who didn't raise any hand. Yes.
Why I did not raise up my hand is
yes.
the fact that they said after conception, 40 days an angel can come and state what you do in life.
Okay.
That's why me I did not raise up my hand.
Allah Akbar.
Maybe it's part of the destiny that it has been already highlighted.
Okay, you mean it is part of what was destined to be. That when you were in the womb, they said, you are going to marry Garuba. And then after a while, you and Garuba, you will depart. Well, Allah knows best. But we cannot put it 100% on destiny. Human choice is also part of it. Irresponsibility of people is also part of it. And I'm going to tell you some of these such reasons now, apart from that one of destiny. Before we can come to destiny, let's keep destiny aside for a while. Let's look at other reasons that people have said. I actually brought this destiny thing to fore because you ask some people after divorce, you see them asking, Ustaz, can we still marry each other? After 3 divorces, on 3 occasions, Ustaz, can we still marry? But what were you people thinking before? Say, some people it was devil. Some people say it was a mistake. Some people. Then you say, but why? Why weren't you patient enough? Then at the end of the day, they say, okay, that's what Allah destined that it should be. Because even after divorce, that's when they begin to love each other more. They say, maybe Allah destined that it should be. That's why I was wondering that this destiny of a person, if destiny should become a person, it will not talk to any of us because we put so much blame on it or on him. Now look at these other factors. I'm going to divide them into 3 main factors that will lead to the death of a marriage. 3 main factors, then I will explain them in detail if Allah permit us. Are you ready now? We have the demographic, we have the life factor. That is things that happen in life generally. Some things happen in life, no matter what you know, no matter what you do, it will always result into divorce. We also have psychological characteristics of the people that are involved, what is going on in their head. And we also have external factors about the family, extended family as it is. Now if we take it one by one, we have the life factor. Early age of marriage can also be a problem. Cohabitation and pregnancy before marriage can be a problem. Low education and income, all of this one. Parental divorce, if the parents had divorced. Some women's employment, like we mentioned earlier on, all of these ones are demographic. They are factors about life generally. But consistently, people have looked at poor communication as one of the things, basic unhappiness as one of the things, loss of love and incompatibility can be one of it, infidelity, mental illness, conflict over roles, and personality traits. I'm going to explain this one by one. But before I explain them, let me mention to you, for you not to forget, that there is always this confusion between marital stability and marital quality. These are 2 different things. Marital stability and marital quality. Some marriages can be on even though they have problems. Some marriages can go for 70 years even when they have problems, but they are not of the quality that you require a marriage to be. So there is stability in marriage and there is the quality of marriage. Some marriages are of good quality, some marriages are of very bad quality, but they stay long. Those 2 things, don't forget them. So one man's poison is another man's food, meaning that what one couple see as problem that should lead to divorce is the same thing that makes some other couples to stick together. If there's no money, for example, some couples are ready to divorce. But it is that lack of money that has made some couples to be together. So many men are still keeping their wives now because they are not rich. Because he's poor. That's why, because this is the only woman on earth that can manage with him. So he will keep her. No matter what she does, he will not divorce her. But when he starts getting rich, it is then he will discover that, so I didn't know I married such a black woman like this. See how dark she is. See how short she is. See how tall she is. Is then he will start thinking of things and he'll be thinking of a replacement. And that's why so many of us will keep our phones intact, even if we are going to use sellotape and bandage to hold the back cover together. But as soon as you have money, it is then you know that there's a new Techno Phantom. So what makes some couples to separate? Childlessness, for example, is the same thing that makes some couples to stick together. When they don't have a child, you see they love each other more. But when children start coming, you see some problems coming up between them. So it all depends. No scholar can tell somebody and say divorce because of this reason. And no scholar will say stay because of this reason. But the question I want to ask you now, before I mention these reasons one by one, is if there are 10 reasons for divorce, which one in your own opinion should be the number one? Which reason do you think is number one? Any list that you can get. Who can tell me? Aisha.
I observe something in the way societies are organized or work.
No, you have not answered my question.
No, I want to say because this I have realized that under certain systems of organization, there are more divorce, and under certain system of organization, there are less divorce. Like the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ said, when a ship is going on an ocean and there are two levels. If the top level is holding onto the water and it is not given to the lower level, the lower level will take all measures to survive, and they may even dig the bottom of the boat to get the water. And once they are allowed to dig, they will drink, but the bottom part of the ship
that will be kasala.
Will sink. And that sinking means people will go to any extent to survive. Because the top board refused to release the water of life. And now this bottom board, they can't do anything. So in that process, people can live anyhow.
Okay.
And in that living, full of diverse evils, immorality, and then Allah will sink the whole board. And Nigeria is running what we call fiscal federalism. And fiscal federalism is a form of world order or societal organization that the top will keep most of the resources and the bottom are given very little. And in that process, the bottom society who are the majority, now they want to survive. And in that process, they go to any extent to survive.
Okay.
And that evil has a lot of effect on society.
Okay.
Young people don't have jobs, schooling is difficult, families cannot eat well, they don't have places to live. I mean, so many factors that pressurize the men, they can no longer bear taking care of their own responsibilities. The women are overwhelmed with responsibilities, they cannot cope, children are suffering, all because the top power is holding on to it and they are not releasing it to get to the bottom line. When you have a ground structure or line structure, that the water will flow to all angles.
Okay, Ajaisha. Well, listen.
Is complication problem.
Allah Akbar. Wait, Aja, number one is lack of fear of Allah. Okay. MashaAllah. You see, you've really hit the nail on the head, though. Yes. Lack of fear of Allah. That's the at taqwa. That's the surname of taqwa. Fear of Allah, then taqwa. Like one little girl asked the mother that, Mama, what is Allah's surname? And then the mother said, well, Allah doesn't have his surname now. It's Allah. She said, my name is Fatima Muhammad. My surname is Muhammad. And my name is Fatima. Why shouldn't Allah have a surname? The mother said, Allah doesn't have a surname. She said, Allah has. Okay, you tell her, what's Allah's surname? She said, Allah's surname is Subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why people always say Allah Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. So it's like, yes, taqwa and fear of Allah, they are the same surname to each other. Now, we have like 14. But I want to put that one that Elijah Adio said as number one. Not because it is the most important. Because when we say taqwa, some people have fear of Allah. It is because of that fear of Allah that they actually divorce. I don't know if you understand what I mean. It's because they fear Allah. That's why they had to divorce amicably. Don't forget that divorce in Islam doesn't mean there is problem. It's not all the time there is problem that you divorce. It's not all the time that there is physical fight and abuse. that there's divorce. Some divorces are natural. Let's say that the man apostates, for example. If the man says he's no longer a Muslim, then the divorce is very automatic. He'll be given like 1 or 3 months to make up his mind. If he still insists that he's no longer a Muslim, then the wife will be eased out. In fact, those 3 months that she's waiting for him to make up his mind, that will be her iddah period. I hope you understand. They may love each other, they are very good couples, very compatible in every other aspect, but when that one is there, the lady will now say it's out of the fear of Allah, because Allah says, that is why I'm leaving this marriage. Yes, Sheikh. Yes.
Divorce itself is not a problem, but there must be a problem before the divorce can take place.
Okay, it is not the divorce that is a problem. In fact, divorce is a solution, it's a blessing.
But there must be a problem before any divorce.
Let's say there must be a situation. Okay. I don't want us to call it problem every time. Okay. Okay, now let's take it like this. Number 1, communication problems. I'm taking that from Alhaji Adio. It can either be a shorthand or a global attempt. You know, when people are not being understood, you say something, they translate it to mean something else. You just want to express yourself because you are happy. They read meanings into your happiness. You express joy at a time when somebody else expects that you should be sad. Or you smile when somebody thinks you should be crying. You are misunderstood. You say something that's just a joke to make people to be happy. Your mother-in-law says you have insulted your family, their family. What are you going to do? Communication issues. You have been so misunderstood. Some ladies, from where they were brought up, they were born and brought up in a home where everybody expressed themselves. They crack jokes with their fathers. Daughter and father, they will talk and tap hand, pass, like this. That's how she grew up. Unfortunately, when she marries, she thinks life should continue like that. So she will be cracking joke and wanting to play with her husband. And the man will look at her and say, what is wrong with this one? She wants to sit down with her father-in-law to say, this one is like my father too. Baba, oh yeah, sit down, let's gist. And then the father-in-law will go to the village and call family meeting and say, come and see the kind of wife Adio has married. Oh, the lady wanted me to sit down and be gisting with her. These ladies, in terms of communication, can be grossly misunderstood. She doesn't mean any harm. She's just being playful, like a lady, like a young woman. Even if she's not young, she just wants to be herself. Some ladies, independence, they were trained and brought up to look after themselves. But when they get married, that their independence will be looked at as arrogance in the eyes of her husband. If she spends money by herself, buy things for the house, spend money to maintain the house, the husband will say she's arrogant because she's working. That's why she's doing those things. As far as she's concerned, she's just doing her own feasibility. She doesn't see any big deal there. Okay, there's a mattress they have been using. The husband used that mattress for his NYSC about 15 years ago. It's that same mattress they are still using up till now, and they now have like 6 children. And the wife, they paid her some money in her office. She felt, let me buy this mattress as a surprise for my husband. Lo and behold, she buys the mattress, brings it home, and the husband refuses to sleep on it and say, no, I will never. Take it back to where you bought it. Now? She should have asked for permission before buying it. What is there? Waiting. That she should have obtained permission before buying the mattress.
Give thanks to Allah for the moon and the stars. Praise Him all day for what is and what was. Take hold of your iman, don't give in to shaitan. Oh, you who believe, please give thanks to Allah. Allahu Ghafoor, Allahu
Muhammadun Habibullah Safiyullah
problem shared is a problem solved. This is always what was said. Every night before you go to bed, imagine what if you woke up dead. Why don't you wipe your face? Think about where will be your place. Is it hell or heaven? Are you one or multiple?
The important thing was that it was time for Maghrib. His Grace will remember. I had to say my prayer, and I had, then we were in one of the Catholic churches, and they made a room for me in one of the offices in the church where I prayed. I prayed my Maghrib, and when it was Isha, in fact, even before it was Isha, he was, asking me, when is the next prayer? I said, no, it's not time. I say, I'm asking so that I'll be able to make room for you. We got there on a Thursday, I think, yes. On a Friday, and I stayed in one of the guest houses of the Catholic Church, yes. And when it was Jum'ah, they took me to the Central Mosque in Abidjan, where I said my prayer. What am I bringing from this? I recommend to especially the Nigerian political leaders to ensure good governance. Good governance presupposes that the idea of justice is not only sloganized, but is deepened. And what is justice? Justice is to ensure that everyone gets it right. Nigeria is between secularity and secularism. Well, to us, we believe Nigeria is multi-religious, so we tend towards secularity than towards secularism. And every Nigerian leader must ensure the secularity of Nigeria, not impose secularism on Nigeria. You may, by the way, ask, what are the differences between secularity and secularism? Secularity ensures that everyone operates in its own space in a just and equitable manner. That is secularity. It is not to shut down any religion. It is not to appoint on the basis of religious identity. It is not to come to a public place and preach and tell us there is justice, there is equity, and the policies of government show otherwise. Number 2 recommendation. You see, ultimately, government will have to be accountable for what they do. And there is an adage in the Yoruba language. It said, if you're frying groundnuts for the blind, you have to continuously, whistle. Because it is impossible for you to eat groundnut while you are whistling. It is not possible. You can try it. You can experiment. Now, it is your whistling that will reassure the blind man that, no, he's only frying the groundnut. He is not eating the groundnut. I think more often than not, our leaders tell us they are frying groundnut for us, but they are not whistling. So maybe they are eating it, maybe they are not, but we are not reassured. And finally, if it had been the will of Allah, Nigeria would have been 100% Christians or 100% Muslims. But he had chosen to make us Muslims, Christians. I used to be from the same state with His Grace before politicians put us apart. And now we are no longer from the same state. But I don't know why. I don't know whether I'm better off or I'm worse off. I'm sure His Grace will also be asking the same question. And I'm saying the politicians must exhibit, whether they actually fear Allah or not is between them and their creator, but they must exhibit that fear of Allah for us to see by being selfless in whatever they say and whatever they do. Ultimately, it is on the basis of this that they are going to be judged.
Wonderful. He emphasized justice, and it reminded me of a statement by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, and he was quoting scholars who came before him. He said, Allah will protect a community that governs itself by justice, even if they are not Muslims. And Allah will not protect a community that govern themselves with injustice, even if they are Muslims. Yeah. Allah is not a cheerleader, a fan of a club. He is with the righteous. He is with those who are insistent on good character. He also touched on an issue that is, of course, an area of big debate, whether being secular is just division of church or mosque and state, or whether it is about the oppression of the religious by the state. And this is an area where, of course, debates can continue. But very important thing for politicians is to start whistling. Yeah. More transparency, better good governance. In the remaining time available, I would like to ask each of the presenters one question, and I would like to hear their own responses. The last question, which I want each one of us to give as a parting gift, if you were to recommend one practical action, one habit, something that is simple that people can go home and do, that would encourage greater peaceful coexistence, what would that single specific action be? I would like to request if we can do that in just a minute each. Would appreciate Your Excellency, if you can start, please.
Instead, I have prepared two things because it may want, depending, and they are all quick. The first one is what I believe most of us in this audience already are doing, but those who are not doing it, I would ask that everybody in this audience should decide today to make a friend of somebody from the other faith with whom they can discuss interfaith mutual understanding in spiritual dialogue. If you are a Muslim here, most of us are Muslim. If you don't have any Christian friends with whom you can talk in a friendly way about your religion, look for one. They are available. And I say the same thing of the Christians. I have some Muslims with whom I discuss regularly. That's the first one. The second one, which may not depend on you, is try and join. And if you can't find one, if you are able, form an interfaith group that has some specific social agenda for the society. I'm not talking of interfaith group that discusses religion, which often doesn't go too far, but an interfaith group that focuses on an issue, social issue, whether education, health, good governance, peace. There are many of such groups, and many are coming up now. Can you join such a group? And if it doesn't exist, look for some Christians whom you think are thinking the same way and say, why don't we come together as an interfaith group to deal with this issue? I'm giving myself the same job.
Sheikh bin Uthman.
Jazakallah khair. In the year 2007, here in Abuja, I was invited by EFCC along with the gentleman here, Mr. Onaiga, if you can recall, here in Abuja, along with our late legal titans, Dr. Adegbite, may Allah have mercy on him, so you can recall, under Nuhu Ribato, I was to speak on the concept of corruption from Islamic perspective. 2007, I returned from Niger Republic for a da'wah visit. I got a letter in my home in Kano. AFCC needs you. I said, what did I take? I said, no, take it easy. Just want you to talk. So I am saying, when I came here to Abuja, my paper talked about corruption, the Islamic perspective. They have a unit, they call it Fix Nigeria Initiative. So Nigeria was broken, it has to be fixed. So the point I just want to bring out of it is that when I looked at the people that attended the meeting, the conference, I said, we're talking about corruption. We should not be looking at those in government alone. How free am I from corruption and corrupt practices myself? A worker goes to office by 11 o'clock, as an example, but he signs that he is there by 8 o'clock. It's a corruption. A lecturer, a teacher overmarks and undermarks his student for some gratification. Some go to the point of, demonizing girls, looking for some gratification, irresponsibly, for her to cross the border. You know what I'm saying? That is a corruption. Ghost workers today have been bedeviling our society, cutting across religious divides. It's a corruption. And I said during my paper earlier here that any government that cannot provide 5 things, then the government is not leading us to reap from what you call dividend of democracy, but kakistocracy. These 5 things I did say, I'm only repeating. لأن ما تكرر تقرر. ما تكرر تقرر. Security has to be there. Are we security conscious, all of us? Are we helping to augment security that's in Nigeria? All of us, Christians, Muslims, and the like. Very important. Job opportunities. You are producing students without work, is a time bomb. Thirdly, healthcare delivery system. Fourthly, food security and good education. I am saying I can reach out to my Christian friend. Let's do something to salvage Nigeria together. That is the message finally.
Excellent. Thank you.
I am the youngest of the respected panelists here, so I know that this suggestion will resonate very well with young people. The social media today is the worst place to be if you want to have any meaningful or serious discussion, because of the kind of dirty talk that has infested social media. And that is because we have allowed bad people to hijack social media to our own disadvantage. If we are intent on promoting peace, justice, unity, goodwill, interreligious cooperation, I would recommend to every young person, study your religious scriptures. I don't know how many Christians can beat their chest and say they have read the whole of the Bible from the first book to the last book. And I don't know how many Muslims can say that too of the Quran. But for what I want us to do, each one of us will have to go back to reading our religious scriptures. It could be once a week or once a month. Pick any passage of your religious scripture that has to do with peace, love, unity, forgiveness, the basic values that we want to promote. It can be just a verse, it can be a short saying, it can be an anecdote, and send it on social media. Maybe on Facebook or on Twitter or any of the other social media platforms. do that regularly, maybe once a week, or if you cannot, once a month. Take a quotation from a religious scripture that has to do with peace, or love, or forgiveness, or goodwill, or unity, and send it on social media so that we can reclaim social media from bad people. Thank you.
Thank you. Two things. I want us, as Muslims, to research, especially those of us who do not know yet, what are the rights of a neighbor on us. Those who are Christians should do the same. Study the sayings of the Prophet ﷺ. For those of us who are Muslims, what are the rights of a neighbor? And you know that it is religiously blind when it comes to the rights of neighbors. First step. Second step, apply these rights to your neighbor. And I want to say one of the things that are required of you, that the right of your neighbor. Islam teaches that it is the right of the neighbor that if you go to the mall or the supermarket and you bring in shopping bags and your neighbor's children can see what you are bringing in, then they have a right. You must give them part of it as a right, not charity. Can we start to apply this? I'm sure Nigeria will be a much better place.
Alhamdulillah. Make a friend, add another non-Muslim to your phone. Add another Muslim, if you're a Christian, to your phone. But start being proactive in wanting to build within your circle of influence. Join interfaith groups that are involved in something real, as Father Onaeka mentioned. Get somebody that's actually doing something. Not just you sit and talk interfaith, but you act interfaith. The issue of character, as Sheikh bin Uthman also touched on, what in traditional Islam was described as similar to the Hilful Fudul that the Prophet ﷺ was a part of during the Meccan period. The fighting against corruption, not just in the government, but on every level as an individual. The reading more of your own scripture and looking for quotes of peace. Any quotation that teaches greater peaceful coexistence. And of course,